Hello, everyone. It's Veronica Bartolini with Codebreaker Real Talk on Chain Hearts. How is everyone doing? I have beautiful people on with me today. We're going to be talking about everything and anything that comes up. And we, of course, have some things written down. But my channel is free flowing and I really don't like rules. So we have Chad Cooper. He's my co-host today. And we have Miss Judy McCormick and Bronte McLeod, is that correct? McLeod. And thank you everyone for being here. I wanted to just ask you, how has your day been? Anyone want to volunteer? How has their day been? Saturday. Chad, how's your day today?
Oh, it's been okay. I've just been processing, trying to stay centered and actually grounded, not processing. I try not to process, try not to think, just trying to take things out of my mind. It's a really strange place we're in right now. And I'm trying to figure out where we have our power. It seems to be within. We're on ourselves, but we're also locked up, you understand? So it's just kind of like I'm trying to question and figure out what's going on in the world, and stay centered and grounded at the same time. So it's just been a little bit of a struggle. You go through your daily routine. There's really no one you can talk to about it. I have folks around me and they're either on the far right or the far left, and I'm the crazy one in the middle. So, so it's just really sort of like trying to figure things out inside and because it's a serious situation. I don't feel like this is, I got handed a gun on the street the other day by a neighbor of mine, and I'm not the kind of guy that the universe just walks up and hands a gun. Granted it was an air rifle or a pellet gun, but I can hunt for my puppy with it, whatever. It was a message to me. And so it's just kind of like I'm trying to figure out how to be prepared, what may be coming up. Those are some of the things I'd like to tune into with our talk today, perhaps. And even within our own community in itself, because it seems like we have each other to turn to, but then this thing that's going on around the world of division seems to also be going on, within our community as well and other communities. It's
Definitely, Chad. Thank you for that. Yes, I totally get it, because there is a division within even our group, even the Supersoldier groups, and even the star seeds, even, this whole, they just want to keep us divided. So I'm glad that we have each other to talk with here, obviously, but it's hard with our families. Like, when I say that I don't live in the matrix, that means I don't live in the matrix. I don't live in their timeline where they're wearing, the thing that covers your nose and your mouth and you can't, inhale, exhale properly. And I remember I used to be so worried when I was like younger, my mother would always take me to the doctor every 6 months, getting the blood out and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, the fear, drink this, drink that, you got to be on this medication, you got to drink a sleeping pill. To this day, she says, why don't you drink sleeping pills, Vero? You got to sleep. What if you get a heart attack? Oh, I'm so worried about you. You're not getting the baby Jabberwocky, what I call. What if you die? She tells me. I'm like, Mom, I'm not gonna die. It's like, I don't live in your world. No disrespect, but I don't live in her world. Lindsay, welcome. Lindsay, we were talking about what's going on right now, how we, Chad brought up an important point where, it's like we have each other to talk to, but then at the same time within our communities, there's division, unfortunately. And I know that you are in Canada, and I wanted to hear from you, Mama, as far as what's going on with you're doing the protests and stuff, the trucking thing. Do you have anything you'd like to say about what's going on today? Because Judy was saying earlier how you know, she was in a timeline as I was, where nobody was around and everything was chill. And then all of a sudden, like today, right, Judy? It's like a bunch of people around. What happened? So welcome, Lindsay. Are you there?
Yeah, I am. Sorry. Just kind of got back a little bit later
It's
than
okay.
I thought. How are you?
Good, Mama. Are you going to be on camera or no?
I think so. I thought I put on camera, but it's not showing it.
We can see your beautiful
Oh.
background though.
Yeah, weird. My computer's always like, on Zoom, it always like hides the camera and then I have to try to find it.
That happened last year too. I remember. That's right.
Yeah, it's a Zoom thing on my computer and it doesn't do that with like, Skype and I don't know, like it's one of these buttons.
Yeah. I told everybody that you were an MMA fighter and that I had interviewed you. And if you don't mind, I guess you can start with just telling us like the gym that you were telling me about last 2 weeks ago. How exciting, because I guess the gyms are closed over there. And then you and your friends just decided, F it, we're gonna start a new gym. We're gonna start something, right?
Oh yeah, I mean we've been actually like open since like since all of this stuff began, right? Like I mean it was like our police weren't too bad here. That was probably the only savior we had here in BC, because like the government here was really bad. So it was like the police, unlike say like a place like Quebec where the police are total assholes and they were like dragging people out of their houses at Christmas time and beating them up for seeing their families or whatever. Whereas here, like the government was like, you can't see your families, you can't go to the gym. But the police just pretended like, like, oh, okay, because they know that it was like a violation of our constitutional rights and everything. So they just kind of, let us do our thing and we just papered all the windows. And honestly, we never even had like during the whole Rona, we never had anyone get sick or anything at our gym. And the only time I started seeing people get sick is once the the Jabberoo's injections came out. That was when and that's when I would react to it. Like I didn't even think I was going to, but like the first time I ever came into contact with that stuff, we had an in-law come to visit for a couple of days and I just started coughing like within the first half hour. And my eyes were watering and I was sneezing and all of a sudden I had this rash and I was like, what is going on?
When was this, Lindsay? When did you start feeling like this?
The first time I ever came into contact with someone who had gotten the shots.
Oh, the jab.
They were like in their 80s and they just came to visit for, a couple days. And, and I didn't think, because I've always had such a strong immune system, I didn't think I would even, I figured they were probably going to, inject stuff into people that would infect other people, to create a crisis, right? It was perfect inject people with a bioweapon. But I just didn't think it was going to affect me. So I was really shocked that I think that was like April 2021. That was the first time I ever. And then after that, it was like I knew everybody who had gotten it because I'd walk by them and I start coughing.
I remember you telling me. Yeah,
yeah.
Me. And I'm like, what's wrong? And you're like, I don't know what's going on. You were like, mormada. How do you say you couldn't breathe very well? And I'm like, what happened?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I was like, what is this? And then I'd go away and I was fine. Like, and then, people couldn't even hide it from me just because like, it'd be obvious that, if they got it. And then I was like, oh, you just got it, didn't you? Like, and then I didn't know what to do because everybody started having it. And then, we didn't have it at our gym as much at first. But then I was like, I stayed away for like a couple of weeks trying to, figure out like, what can I do so that I'm not so affected by this stuff. So it's obviously, I figured out a bunch of things, everything from supplements to like, trying to take these I had a little machine that generates electricity. It's a Wimhurst generator. So it's basically it gives you like lightning shocks. Just like it's high voltage, but there's no amps or whatever, so it won't electrocute you or anything. But it kind of basically
good. Yeah. It's kind of like in therapy and physical therapy. When I was going to physical therapy, is that what it is? Like you just like put it on your back area or wherever it hurts and it like shocks you a little bit?
Yeah, you know what? It's the same concept. It's like a electrostatic generator. You know,
Chad,
and there's
that's an
different ones.
idea. Chad,
Yeah.
that I was gonna tell you, Chad, that's an idea for when you or I or whatever, when we were talking the other day of doing like, is it QHHT or something?
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Beyond quantum healing or
idea.
yeah.
Could be. So, are the protests dying down over there in Canada, Lindsay?
Um,
Rutgers?
they, yeah, you know, like, I mean, today there was one right, I'm at the parliament, I'm like right behind the parliament right now. Um, yeah, like there was a lot of people out again today, like where I am. So like the protests around here are like picking up. Whereas like I think in Ottawa, what happened is they dispersed right with the trucks. Like they had all that stuff happen and the police, you know, like took away all the money from the, you know, the funding and everything. That they froze everyone's bank accounts. Um, so a lot of people couldn't have access to their money. And if they thought you were involved with protesting, they could freeze your bank account. And then I guess people started pulling, including Americans, they started pulling all the money out all at once too. So I guess it turned into a bank run where there's no money in the bank. So all like we had like 5 of our major banks just froze from that as well. Just because they couldn't, you know, give anyone money. So they weren't like people want to take out money and they're like, sorry, you can't have your money. And so I mean, it's just crazy. Like I never thought like, and the protesters were so peaceful. Like, you know, we've seen like, obviously the States, they've had some pretty crazy protests, right? Nothing happens. And here they made, you know, the protesters never hurt anybody, never did anything. And the government was saying that they were Nazis and white supremacists and, you know, racists and just, yeah, they were, you know, doing like inciting violence. And the only violence I saw was, you know, the police, like, I'm sure you saw that lady got trampled by a horse. I don't know if you saw that.
No.
She was like, oh, she got like, yeah, they brought out these horses. I think it was the UN because they had UN planes that just came in the day before. And, you know, it just didn't seem very like Canadian, like it's not anything I've ever seen before. And all of a sudden these people came in with their horses and they like ran over a couple of the protesters and the lady was disabled and they like ran her over and she had like a walker and they like, I guess dislocated her shoulder apparently.
It's crazy because it because what I saw is that it's a simulation in the beginning for
Mhm.
sure. They were saying that it was because of the labs that were only supposedly the US and the elite can use, the bio labs, which are really like where the adrenochrome is, where they have the child trafficking the most in Ukraine or whatever, which is everywhere really. And I know I'm currently in Ukraine, and so is another Chad and Johnny and Eve and others. So we're in the DOMs, you know, taking care of trying to get out the kids and stuff like that. And another thing that I saw was that Russia has new super soldier equipment that they're also trying on. So it's kind of like it's more than, you know, because there's other people that are talking about how JFK Jr. Is Juan O'Savin or something. Carrie Cassidy was saying that and that Trump is coming back. I mean, so much stuff that
Yeah.
keeps saying Trump is coming back. What my main thing is, you guys, nobody's gonna save us. Like we have to save ourselves and we have to work together. And what unfortunately is happening right now, we are being divided, especially in the SSP. A lot of the SSP super soldiers have gone black, meaning they, like if you see the movie Dark Crystal, you know, you have the crystal that's, you know, the light with all the rainbow colors, and then you got the dark crystal where they're taking the energy from the people, right? The kids or whatever, the people, and it just by putting out whatever on the news and fake stuff, you know, and it's kind of frustrating because I've lost many friends and I'm like, what's going on? And we were talking about this earlier, Chad and and I said to myself, well, the people that are our star family that are really like, they're going to stay with us. You know, Um, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and this whole thing with, oh, we stand with Ukraine, oh, we stand with Russia. Well, like I was listening to Peter the Insider and Jessica Morocco. She's like, we're not supposed to be taking sides. Like, I know I wasn't, see, I have like a hard time sometimes because I was in the military too, right? And in the regular military and in the other stuff. And sometimes it's like I'm all gun ho, come on, you know, US of A. And then I'm like, no, 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 no. Remember what they did to you, to your back. Remember what they did to the, you know, you when you were a kid, you know, with the SSP program. And then I'm like, it's about the world. It's about helping, you know, the people and Mother Earth and the innocent, the children, the animals, the plants, and I cannot take sides. That's correct. So anybody want to say
Yeah.
something? Mhm. Go ahead, Ms. Judy.
So as I had mentioned previously, that we're, by not taking sides and by being neutral, I have ended up on alternative timelines to what is currently going on. And yesterday, for 3 days, I was in traveling, and there were very few people on the timeline. And I believe like the timelines are like doing this, you know, and then those are the main two that I'm working with. And then there's some running parallel. And then there's all the old, you know, and different and new. So yesterday, and I find when I stay in the flow and listen to my guides and the guidance that I get internally, that things happen as they should. And when I start overthinking with my mental computer brain, then things start getting a little more chaotic sometimes. So I decided that I was going to take a country road. And I didn't realize that it was quite a curvy country road and quite a steep country road. And I'm driving my 25-foot RV, and it was a little bit hairy. But right when I got off the highway to take the road, I had the magic numbers. So it was, 7,700 on the odometer, and it was 77 miles to the town I needed to be in. And I hit the gas to get onto that road at 11:11. So I'm winding up in this hill, right? And it's just a little scary because I haven't been driving this rig for a long time. And so I feel like I'm in this like nature paradise. I get to the top of the mountain, start coming down, and I feel like the transmission jump a little bit, as if coming out of a vortex. And I say, okay, is this, I think this is okay. And I look down, I have 77:33 on my odometer, and the time was 12:12. So I went from 11 to 11 to 12:12 in that tiny little vortex. And after that, everything else just went smoothly flowing. And when I got to the town that I wanted to be in, right as I got right about to the campground, my odometer was 7777. So I knew I was in the right place. I knew this is where I was supposed to be. But around me, I see, a certain amount of discord and different things that, but world-wise, I feel like we're watching something playing out, and we're supposed to be more neutral than not. And in dream time, some of our alters are off doing other jobs, as we all kind of know. And so, but for me right now, if I'm looking within and controlling my destiny and following my guidance internal, then all seems to go very smoothly. When I start to overthink or get scared or put fear into it, then things don't go as smoothly. So I've just taken this, I'm watching a movie. The timeline that I'm supposed to be on will manifest. But in the meantime, I'm doing this, through this weird time warp some days. And I'm in the crystal vortex in Arkansas. And this is a very powerful place that I'm in, and I'm very protected, and this feels like home to me. So that's also extremely helpful.
That is so awesome. Thank you, Judy. Welcome, Ev. How are you, Mama?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Mika. So we were talking about like how some of us are in Ukraine and our altars and stuff like that, and how Judy is going through these timelines, and the other day, it was like she and I and all of us were talking how there was hardly any people on the road, and then we were going sailing pretty smoothly, and then all of a sudden, like, there's all these people on the road. And like what she was saying is when she lets her brain take in control, then that's when things can get chaotic. And what Judy, thanks for talking about that, because what I call it is a Mad Hatter. When I start thinking so much, it's like, oh my gosh, you see this, you see that, and you know how the Mad Hatter from Alice in Wonderland has the eyes going around like that. And then I also call it looping. Like sometimes I'll end up driving somewhere where I'm not supposed to. I'm like, wait, what am I doing here? I don't need to be here. Like I get lost, and I've been there many times, and I'm like, oh, I'm looping. So now when that happens, I'm actually grateful that happens, because I know something good's gonna occur the next day or two, and I'll find something. Like I've been finding more quarters lately. On last year, it happened again, actually in 2022, when all this happened in March. I found many quarters on the Eagle side, and I found another one like 3 days ago. And 2 days ago, I was at the grocery store, and it was 3 3s, 53, 3 3. The time 3:03, 3:13. That's my number. And Judy was saying too that she was looking at these numbers, and it's very important, because I feel that this is when we're changing something on the other side as well. Miss Bronte, did you want to say something? What's going on over there where you are at home, by the way?
What was the question? Yeah, I'm not sure what to say.
Like what have you seen happen over there at where you live, or you're in Australia, right?
Yeah. You mean regarding like Ukraine and that's Russia sort of thing?
Yeah, and like what's going on with the people there? Is there, how are the mandates there? Have they, just current events?
Yeah, well, with the mandates, like I think we don't need to wear masks anymore as part of I think you can't go out unless you've had like public spaces, unless you've had like your double jab or something. And like in uni at TAFE and schools, they require you to have your 2 jabs to go and attend. Which kind of sucks. Yeah, that's the current state. And
They issued in the passport yet? Because that's one of the other timelines where the travel passport, that you can't go on cruises or anything unless you get the Jabberwocky. Or have you seen anything like that yet, where you are?
I don't know really. I'm not sure.
It's okay. Chad, do you want to say something, or Eve? I think, Chad, we were talking about relationships and marriage and all that. You want to go ahead and go on that? We have a lot of stuff to talk about, but we just go with the flow here.
Yeah. I am curious though, like, okay, there is the marriage thing, but leading up to that, what are we? Who are we as a society? Who are we as a people? We've been so manipulated, so brainwashed. And right now we're really getting to see that. And I'm not sure exactly what our part in this, unless it's like what Judy said, is to stay neutral. They don't want to listen to us. We have no leg to stand on. I can shove it in their face and they just turn their head. So there's no conversation there, from I've been driven. I'm writing plays and I have songs coming to me. And the question has always been, what does the future look like? And who are we as a society? What are we what is humanity without the conditioning? You know, is marriage involved with that? Is there contracts, perhaps maybe 5-year contracts instead of just doing the marriage thing? You know, what does the family unit look like? Is that what we're going to base our humanity on? I think family is important. I don't know that marriage is so much, but perhaps family is important. You know, those are the things that I'm thinking about as I look around the world today and watch it all fall apart, you know, and who is it out there exactly that makes it through this? You know, I feel like we're a little bit different. So it's hard for me to say, this is what I want for myself, because I feel like we're separate. You know, I have a different way of thinking. I feel like there's me and then there's the humans. I don't want to call them muddles or muggles or whatever people, you know, or the planet of the 8 monk, you know, all the names that get thrown out there. You feel like you're a sane person in an insane asylum to be around them. Let me put it that way. That's the way I've always felt. And so, according to Dolores Cannon, I mean, 49% of them or more, you know, could be AIs or just holograms. And then we have the other percentage, you know, so let's forget about them. I would imagine those are not the people we need to be concerned about. You know, they're just going to weigh us down and boggle us down if we try and jump in and pull them out of the pit. I have a feeling that the extreme right and the extreme left won't be moving forward. So what does that center ground look like for us? And what does this look like at the end? You know, that would be interesting to explore. Who are we as humans?
Right. Thank you, Chad. We were talking about how, like, you know, the word misfit. When I was a kid, I don't know if you guys remember, I'm a little older. The Rudolph one with the snowman, and they got stuck in the land of the toys, the misfit toys. And to me, that was home. I always wanted to watch that because of that part. And I was talking to my friend Colin a few years ago, like 3 years ago, and I told him, I feel like I'm a misfit, but now that I found my Supersoldier family, back then I was all excited, right? Before the division happened. But I was like, oh, I feel like I finally found my family, you know? And some people will, like I mentioned in another video, is last year in March when this person had me and another person on his show. As soon as he started the live broadcast, he said, wow, Veronica, you are so fit. And then he told the other guy, you are so fit, FIT. And so ever since then, I'm like, what does fit mean? What kind of spell did he try and put on us? And I sent most of you, I think all of you all, I think I did, Lindsay, I'm not sure if I did you, but I sent all of you all a little tiny video on this man that was mentioning how he, you know, he always felt like he was a misfit. And he said, but why would you want to fit in? If you fit in, the minute that you fit in, he said, you disappear. And I'm like, holy F, maybe that was the spell, you know, that they wanted for me to be fit, even though he was talking about, you know, yeah, good home, I'm fit, you know, like muscular and stuff or whatever. It's kind of like a disappearing act, but I'm not talking about the invisible shield that I put up, right? Like the Wonder Woman. I'm not talking about that one for protection. Anyway, I just, I'm grateful that I'm different. You know, it does get lonely, Chad. I do get you, because sometimes I'm like, I'll have panic attacks and there's nobody here, and I just got to get on my bike and I got to just let myself cry. And I'll reach out like Ev, I'll reach out to you, Chad, and stuff. And it's like, I need you. But then I'm like, then I erase the messages because I'm like, I got me. Go ahead, Judy.
So the other day I was thinking about the difference between profit and abundance, because I was in a meeting with some people and we were talking about, and one woman brought up profit. I see abundance, profit, and I started thinking, what's the word magic between that? Pro-fit. fit, you're fitting in the box. If you're making a profit, you're fitting into that matrix box, into all that that's already been set up for us. But if we're abundant, then that's the new way that doesn't appear to have spells surrounding it that are of the matrix. So it's interesting that you mentioned that, because that just came up for me like last Sunday, Monday. I mean, so within this last week that came up for me. Pro fit, you're all about fitting in the box. And so maybe the same thing, if you're fitting in the box, and then you fit in the box, and then you get boxed in, and then you disappear because you're closed up in the box and you can't go out into your multidimensional selves and get what you need to have.
Right. And that's kind of like fitting in the matrix, like, oh, well, you have to be married and have so many kids. And I remember when I got divorced, oh my gosh, and I was in the church still, the eyes, the way they would look at me. And it's like, I'm glad I'm not in the church anymore. But and no offense to those that are, but it made me feel like, wow, these stereotypes, right? And when we were kids, they would always say in school, they'd say, think outside the box. They would tell me, think outside the box. But at the same time, and Ev and I were talking about this the other day, they wouldn't let us daydream, which is actually astral traveling, right? I'm going to give you an example. This is so cool. My son and I were talking the other day, and he's like, Mom, I was daydreaming. I didn't mean to, he said, but I was just not understanding something in his course. He's at the university. And he says, I just drifted away. And then after a while, I got all the answers right. And I'm like, I told you. I said, because it's all, our body will travel. Our essence, our bioluminescence, right? Our spirit will travel when we need it. And, we can go into the whole trauma thing where, when we were traumatized and everything, and that's how we get the altars, because we were split or whatever, because we have to defend ourselves. But I don't want to go into the gloom and doom. So thank you, Judy. And another thing is prosperity, because prosperity it entails abundance, money, healing, and all that. So anyway, Chad, you were saying 5-year contract. I've heard of that before, actually.
Yeah.
Some people having a 5-year contract, and after that, if you want to stay married, great. And if not, and I wonder if that's part of Jasara and Nasara thing or New Age movement. I don't know. As far as the marriage, I was talking to you earlier, Chad. I feel like it's an imprisonment because it's another way of the Vatican, we'll say, and the other powers that be, and the other, we'll call them some Anunnaki and some Seraphim, Eli, Elohim, Seraphim, to kind of keep us in control. So family too, we do not own our children, and we do not owe them anything, and they don't owe us anything either. And I don't mean it in a bad way. I don't mean it like, because I love my kids so much, but I've seen so many people. I just visited a lady the other day. It's like, she uses tactics to make her kids feel guilty. It's like, why do you do that? If they don't want to hang out with you, there might be a reason. Let them go. And then there's another thing that I use also that Scientology teaches, which I don't really I don't really like Scientology, but they do have some good things, like the reach and withdraw. Like when you reach too much, they'll run away. So the best thing is like, just, if they need mama, they'll come to mama. If they need daddy, they'll come to daddy. But anyway, going back to the whole imprisonment religion thing, there's also this thing where, okay, so the man or the woman decides to sleep around within the marriage imprisonment, or prison, what I call the prison. Then they call it sin, and then they grab the loosh from there too. So they're not only making money, them saying, hey, you got to pay your tithe and stuff, and they grab that loosh. Anyway, I can go on and on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I was going to school for the hypnotherapy, we would do sessions on each other, and so I got to practice within groups there. And we would do future life progressions, and we would take a group of people and progress them into the future. And we'd have you'd either choose door 1, door 2, door 3, and you'd go ahead 100 or 200 or 300 years. And then afterwards, you ask everybody, well, what did you see? And you're listening to everyone speak, and they're saying different things, but then you realize the door ones all saw the same thing, the door twos all saw the same thing, and the door threes all saw the same thing. And one thing we used, I know timelines have shifted, but one thing that was coming through in those times, and this is after 2012, so I don't know if we're on the, what happened, but this isn't before that. And what I saw was not a very populated planet. It was very pristine. That's what everybody says. Whenever I did a progression, everybody said it is way too clean. It's way too vibrant. It's way too colorful. It's way too blue. It's way too green. It almost seems like a virtual reality. And then you explore their lifetimes, and they're having contracted marriages. They're contracted 5 years, and I bring them into the future, and then I say, okay, what happens after this contract ends? And they said, oh no, we renewed it. So that was their story. But life is a little bit different. There's not really roads, there's rails. Things are moving around, either hovering or on rails. There's not much damage on the planet, but that kind of gets me nervous too. Like, what are we heading into? Because are we heading into a virtual reality future? Because I know that is a timeline where every insect, every bird, everything is artificial. So, and then also to explore the family thing is interesting. It's going to be nice when we get this garden weeded out, because right now we're distracted. Like, even to listen to somebody online complain about their viewing audience and be extremely volatile and scream through me to talk to them, and they're probably AI. What should we be focusing on? They're distracting us. They're weighing us down, and I want to know who we are.
Chad, I don't get it.
Who are we saving? Who's moving forward in this future to be in these families? It's not them. Why are we don't need to fight against them. That's the AI. I think it gets cut off or something, and then why am I going to argue with the extreme left and the extreme right? And why am I going to be upset when that part of that society comes at me? I just want to ignore it, and I want to focus. And that's why I'm saying get centered and focus. Who am I and who are my people?
Yeah.
I am a misfit. I am the misfits, so I'm looking for my people and the others like me. Let's say it that way, because even in the Supersoldier program, there's going to be some of us that get weeded out. We're not one of the ones that make it into the, so there. And then, as far as the normal people,
they have their own clique.
Some of them make it. So,
right. Yeah, they have their own clica, like they say in Spanish. As far as I get what you're saying. We have a choice to not listen to the people that are like screaming, which is like you said, it could be AI. I do see the timeline, the virtual reality, and I also see the machine world timeline as well. So, but the thing of it is I am no longer fighting. I choose not to. We cannot live where the others live as far as their timeline. If we do not feel good in our stomach, in our heart, in our pineal gland, in our aura, in our space about that certain thing, I'm not going to go there. It's like, you know what, let them fight within amongst each other and let them, I just can't, so same thing with the Ukraine and Russia. They're trying to pull our loosh, and how I saw it is I saw it as the virtual reality. I saw it as a simulation because let me tell you, also, like I wanted to bring this up. When I lived in Hollywood, back in the day, they had the Rodney King beatings. And then of course, because the cops had beat up this man that was Black, and then after that happened, then some Black society, or whatever you want to call it, some people of color, I don't know, no offense, but they started beating up a guy that was white, and he was a trucker. And then I saw the looting. I saw because they wanted to quiet the people down, because they were burning stuff. Okay, people were looting, burning stuff. And I remember being on top of the highest floor, in the high rise, in the sky rise, and just looking down, and everything was burning. And we had a curfew of like 10 p.m. And we had weapons because my friends, they had weapons and anyway. This is when I was in the military as well. Anyway, I saw it escalate, and then we'll just say they put in a couple earthquakes to kind of settle people down. So what they want, I feel, is they want people to fight against one another. And I just, like Judy says, I'd rather just stay neutral. And if I can help with something, which we already are, our altars are out there, some of us, great. But it cannot, and of course, obviously we have bleed throughs as well, but we can't really, if people don't want help, can't force them, Chad. People don't want to be our friends. Oh, well, it does get kind of lonely here. Lindsay, I want you to talk. Tell me something. What do you think about all this?
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, I mean, especially right now, like now that we have so many people injected with nanotechnology, you're more likely to be talking to AI, like Chad said, because a lot of the people have, their DNA is changing, they're becoming closer and closer to cyborgs, and depending on their soul and a bunch of, there's obviously a lot of variables involved. That's why some people have gotten the injections, they're still them, and then other people have completely changed. And I've had conversations where people completely attack me, and I've checked, energetically, and their consciousness, most of their human consciousness has already started to leave, right? So I'm actually arguing, like, that's why they get under your skin even more, because now you're dealing with AI who actually knows you better than the person who's talking to you. It's been listening on all the devices to all your different conversations. So it knows the buttons to push, right? What to say and how to make you really triggered, right? And so, yeah, we're more likely to get into these. And then when you kind of take a step back and you're like, oh, wait a minute, like I'm like literally arguing with a negative AI right now is trying to, and what I've been actually finding, which was quite interesting, was almost everybody who has the injection, they've got like energy lines that are connected, like, those little parasites that are in the injections, that we've seen, like, some of the scientists, like, I'm trying to think, the lady that she actually got, the vials, and, and within like half an hour of taking this stuff out, they're little self-assembling parasites, right? But those parasites, like, you guys might have even seen them in like the etheric world. There's like very big versions of them, and they're kind of like one of them, yeah, the little ones. And I noticed that these people up through their crown are having these connections to these massive predator parasites. And I was calling them the archons originally, but like I had another friend, he's pretty knowledgeable in that area, and he was calling the old ones. That was the terminology. And when I used that term, I was able to also find them, because a lot of the time they hide, and so they're even I guess you could say above the archons. They're even more ancient and more hidden. And so, yeah, people with these injections they're connecting now to these old ones, and they've got this connection, and those beings are kind of controlling them. So and then physically, because I'm obviously physically touching a lot of people, doing, training people. And I actually at first was getting, a lot of the time, I wouldn't feel well after I touched them. And then I was discovering that I was getting these attachments on my crown. And so I've, been removing them. And, another, energy healer and I, friend of mine, he was telling me, Sean, he was telling me, like, you can get rid of the connections by just doing a hot cold, shower on your crown. So you do, like, say, you can check, everybody's a little different, but about 15 seconds ice cold water on your crown, 15 seconds hot, and then do that a few times, depending on how many connections you have. And it's basically, it freezes the connections, and then the hot water sloughs them off. And that's like the easiest way. Like, you can remove them so many ways, but that's the easiest way I found. And then I'll feel good again. But yeah, like it's pretty crazy, because that is like, there's a nanotechnology aspect of it, with these parasites. So it's parasites and nanotechnology, and it's enabling these beings to connect to these little parasites that are getting to people, and it's connecting to the operating systems that are the nanotech that's also in the body, that's turning people into cyborgs. And there, I think they're hoping eventually just to run the people's bodies all together. It's, you know, because they can't, in an organic human being, they cannot enter and just fully take over, right? So
Yeah, and then they have the drones that
yeah.
are outside, you know, from China. They have the drones, they have the
Yeah,
satellites. And then even in your own home, like that's why I won't even turn on the TV. Like if I do, it's maybe for a movie, and then after that I cover it up because they have the cameras there. I took out my fire alarms as well. It's like, you know, they're
yeah,
monitoring that way. And the LED lights outside, they put brand new
yeah,
ones
they have
years
things.
ago, and now brand new ones this year, and they have cameras inside. I mean, they could be
Mhm.
hacked anytime. They are watching us. And if you guys notice at Fry's, Walmart, and Target, a year and a half ago, they started putting these pictures of people looking at you. I would turn the corner, I'm like, oh fuck, like, excuse me, like, oh my god, like who's staring at me? And it was a
Yeah.
rótulo, it was a poster, like what the hell? And in 2020,
Yeah, like,
I
hey.
told everybody that I saw a strand of DNA on top of their crown area filled with fear, like combined with fear. The corona here on the top of the head
Mhm.
is the silla del entendimiento, which is the seat or the chair of entendimiento. How do you say entendimiento? Of knowledge, of wisdom. Okay.
Yeah,
So if they, and I saw the strands. I saw the strands.
yeah, and that's, yeah. And that's the thing, right? The corona, right?
Right.
The coronavirus, right? And then it made so much sense when I realized that these things are connecting into the crown of people. I was like, oh my God, it's the corona. Now it makes sense, right? Yeah, like, so that's really interesting that you saw that too. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, like there's different forms, but that's you know, and I checked, you know, people who don't have the shots, the same thing, it's the shedding, right? So like there, like in Victoria at the time that I was looking into it, like just tracking it, there was about, I was reading 96% of the people had these connections in the crown. And, you know, like I think at the time we had about maybe 80% were, you know, had the injections at the time, right? So and I think it's 90% here now, but you know what I mean? Like, even if you didn't have them, because of the contact and because the stuff gets in your bloodstream, and then, you know, so, you know, like I've been trying to get my, like when I shield, you know, when I do the energy work, I've been trying to also program my DNA to become more and more immune to this stuff, and finding, you know, like different sequences and stuff. So you know, I have been feeling a lot more immune, right? And that's what we have to do sometimes. But yeah, I think some of the sensitivity I had to it too is because of the fact that there's you know, some pathogens and just my particular genetics, like, you know, how they have, like, obviously they're trying to hunt certain genetics to eliminate them. And I think I was a carrier of a few of those. So, but yeah, I think we all have to be kind of just mindful if, like, not everybody's in as much contact with this stuff, but like, you know, like I'm in contact with it constantly. So but yeah, so definitely.
Thank you. I noticed that I just went back to the gym. It's been a week now today that I've been able to go back from the surgery thing. And I noticed that I needed to take more baths. You know, I do the Epsom salt baths mixed with the borax, mixed with a splash of apple cider vinegar, mixed with baking soda. And I've been having to do more of those. But I did feel a lot bloated, like during, you know, and so now I think I've lost like 5 pounds just for detoxing. And I finally got this thing I was showing everybody before we started, the organic MCT oil, because I usually will put like coconut oil at the beginning of my coffee. And if you put coconut oil in your coffee, it helps your digestive. It's like we need to be lubricated, you know. Big pharma, right? They give us, they want to give us stuff to calcify the pineal gland and to hurt our hearts. And if it's not one thing, it's another. Oh, now you need this. Oh, now you need that. So what's been helping me is CBD oil mixed with the RSO. I won't use their stuff anymore. I know that they do use a lot of pain. They do send us a lot of pain when we don't want to comply. I know that.
Yeah.
And so it's a fight. It's a balance, it's a dance, it's a fight, whatever you want to call it. But what I did recently now, it's been also about a week and a half that I'm starting to put the coarse Himalayan pink salt in my wash, in my body wash. The coarse pink Himalayan salt,
yeah.
like, yeah, and it helps.
Like exfoliator.
Yes, and it helps a lot. I mean, that's a trick that I
Oh,
learned
wow.
a few, like I said, about a week and a half ago, and I even put it
Oh,
in
nice.
my hand stuff, in your soap. So just put it in there and let it sit there. But
Well, that's a good idea. I gotta try that.
yes, Miss Eve, you haven't said anything. Sorry, I've been talking.
I'm just waiting for a moment to actually say something, but I noticed, there was both my parents have been vaccinated, and my father, well, he's SSP, one of the earlier generations, and he is not affected by the shot as much. His aura still seems, very much human, or starseed, as he's not, from here. My mother, on the other hand, she's not really my mother, but the woman who gave birth to me, and her aura. I actually contacted a demonologist because I was a little concerned, and he's also psychic, and he was able to get a read on her, and he thought she was actually possessed. And so we kind of went back and forth, and we talked about it, and I've noticed that she was able to anything that there's like digital or anything with technology, they're able to almost interpret that or understand it, or see it without being right over your shoulder. So we were talking about playing some frequency music to eliminate negative entities. And during that time, I was trying to get it hooked up on my speaker, and she was like trying to blaze out of the house as fast as she could. It was like it's almost like they can communicate with not only with themselves, but with each other, and they can also almost like spy on us, which is really, really weird. And then I noticed being able to sense there's not really much of a soul left in these individuals. I mean, it's almost like I guess if I can take a going back into like Captain America, when they talked about the injections for Supersoldier, for Captain America, and for Red Skull, if you're a bad person, it makes you worse. If you're a good person, it only enhances those. And that's exactly what I've noticed, because my mother is a very classic narcissist, and I just don't feel anything from her. In fact, I was actually almost in like a mourning, because it felt like my mother was already gone. She had died a lot, she got it's about two years since she got vaccinated. So well, when it first came out, she got the shot then, but she's not who she used to be. And whatever it was, that made her a human is gone. And I had no choice but to like move on, do a grieving process. And there's no body to bury or anything. Her soul is just gone. My dad
I get you. I totally get you. It's kind of like, and no, you guys already know me, so it's kind of like you get the thing, but then something is taken away. It's kind of like if you say, okay, I accept this God as my personal savior, but they take your soul. Why would anybody in their right mind say, I accept you, and they take your soul? God dang it. Go ahead, Chad.
But
I'm gonna go to the restroom, but go ahead and talk, Chad. I can still hear you.
Just one real quick. There's like 3 different types of shots with 3 different numbers on the back of the bottles that they give. And I went into CVS recently, and it said, you need to make an appointment to get your vaccine. And I walked in, and there was like chairs lined up against the wall, but nobody was there. So why do you need to have an appointment. So I'm guessing when they put your name in, they pull up and they see which bottle that you're supposed to get. So sorry, Chad, go ahead.
No, that was beautiful. Thank you. You know, I've been curious about this as well. There's a few things that I've noticed. One was it was about 6 months ago, I believe. My folks, we lived near each other, and they got the thing, and the very next day, I got COVID, and so I treated that. I mean, after, you know, I work in the public. It just seemed kind of ironic that the day after they got it, I got COVID. And then after I got rid of it, it took a while. There was a change in everybody, and I could feel it in my heart energy. It had dampened my heart energy, and it felt unemotional, unhuman. I just felt like I couldn't get upset, and I couldn't get real happy or real, you know, felt kind of neutral. And then eventually that did fade out in me. And I did notice it fading out in more my father, who's got the Supersoldier connection in my family. And then with my, you know, with other people, I see them coming back a little bit. Like, I'm noticing they're getting a little more of their shimmer back. I don't think it's because they got the other 3 or 4, you know, things. But for a while they were dull. They were coming in with their hair gray, their face was gray. They didn't have any, you know, sparkly stuff on their fingers. No personality for a long time. And so there's definitely something there for us to be tuning into, I think. And that's interesting what was said earlier about the entity attachment. One thing I've been curious about that I've been noticing around us, and I think this ties into this, is with the entities and what's going on with the thing. Is it feels like Murphy's Law. It kind of feels like there's this energy around me that if a cord can get caught, if a thing can tip over, if something can break, it will. If it can get lost, it will. And I've been really frustrated about this for a while now because it's not my normal energy. It just feels as if it's encroached in upon my atmosphere because it's what's all around us and what we're all dealing with on a global scale, maybe. I don't know if any other person has felt this, you know, the last week or two, but it just really feels like there's a strong Murphy Law working against everything we're doing. And I think that's kind of to take the control out of our hands, you know, because we're all trying to figure out what to do and how to do it, and sort of turn it back over to maybe a God's hand or a higher power or something. Because it does seem to fade away when you're neutral. And like I said, when you tune into it, it seems to attract it. So I don't want to become apathetic, but I did have to shut down because I got tired of constantly having to combat this around me. And I think she was right earlier, sorry about the name, you know, when you said that being neutral is, or Judy, yeah, when you said being neutral, kind of keeps you free from it. I haven't been trying that much. I just been adopting that recently, and not trying to go into apathy, because that's really hard to shut your emotions down, to shut yourself down, and just go into listening mode and looking around you. I'm curious if anybody else has sensed like life is working against them right now.
I was feeling that for a while.
Okay.
I think it was probably, I wish I would write this stuff down, but I'd say it was about 2 or 3 weeks ago. It was like I had been given a script, and I knew what was happening and what to expect, and it was really strange. It was almost like I kept getting deja vu over and over and over and over. And I think Veronica and I had been talking during the Super Bowl when everything was going on, and she thinks that they had done some sort of, you know, magic during the Super Bowl halftime show. We were discussing that. And I think one of the last that we had done, we had actually brought up a lot of it. And whatever it was that they did, because I just go through these weird moments of feeling really strange, you know, right after Christmas, I think, or no, it was like after Christmas, I was feeling exactly like that. Like a lot of stuff was just going wrong. And it was like it was like this big, huge thing was like working against everything. They were just throwing out all this stuff. Like my school paperwork wasn't going through. I was almost getting evicted because like all this funding that was supposed to go through to pay for my rent wasn't going through. And it was about 5 different things, and it was like really stressing me out. And that's when I realized, I mean, there is something that's working against. And I don't know if anybody else has noticed it, but I've been seeing like these really, it just like I can either look right at it, or I can see it. It's almost like these little, and then someone had said something like these weird spiders, and I see them on the wall. I see them different, and as soon as I look at it, it just kind of dissolves. It just dematerializes right before my eyes, and I'm like rubbing my eyes, and I'm like, what am I seeing? But it's almost like some sort of a weird, since everything is the matrix, it's almost like a really strange insect drone. It's like they're
In your peripheral, correct? In your peripheral?
Yeah.
I've seen that then. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
I've seen it too. Yeah, and Max Pierce talks about them too. So it's
Yeah,
kind of,
that's the AI, right?
yeah, that's the
like,
AI.
that's connected with the same thing, those beings that I was talking about, is those, you guys are seeing those these hidden, I mean, they've been there forever, right? Like, I mean, the last 10,000 years especially. But yeah, they're hidden, and I couldn't even get a read on them originally when until I used that name. I used the old ones instead of calling them archons, and also and then I realized these are hiding. Like, I thought I was already finding something hidden, but they're like hidden at the hidden. So yeah, but sometimes you'll just see them and you think, oh, well, I just, that's something out of the corner of
Thank
your
you
eye.
for validating that, because I was starting to feel like I was going muy loco en la cabeza, really crazy. But I'm starting to like see him in front of me now. Like, instead of before, I would just see him on the corner of my eye, or I would catch a glimpse of it. Now I'm like actually seeing him right in front of me, and almost like a digital picture. It just shows up, and then it just gone.
Yeah, it's kind of like when I mentioned God Wars. Okay, so basically they're putting their bets, all these, we'll say God demiurges. Oh, let's see who gets the jab, or let's see, I bet you this person will do, it's like they're using people as pawns and things like that. So I always say just stay true to yourself. And then as far as the spiders, I've seen them too. I've seen them on the roof, and then there's a bunch of spider webs, and then there's spiders as well. There's some spiders from Mars as well. And I'm thinking, okay, all these archon thingies, like the worms, why do we have intestines? Did they make a deal with the other demiurge gods for our body, for them to exist? And I always think about Anubis, like why was his job back in the day to make sure that the pharaoh didn't have any parasites in his stomach, the embalming and stuff, right? And now I told my kids, I said, I wrote my will, and whenever I'm ready to go, I want you to burn me right away. Don't do an autopsy, don't do nothing, because I don't want them to use any of my parts. What do they use our parts for? Why do they put a thing in your body, right? The ice thing, why do they take, because they use all of our body. These archons, these ETs, they use our hair, they use our heart, they use our cells, whatever, to regrow us. So I don't know. I just started thinking about that stuff too, like the enlightened masters, like I don't know. It's just a lot to think about, a lot of stuff to talk about. Before I forget, I wanted to say what I was telling you all the other day about your higher self. A lot of people are like, oh, my higher self, my higher self. And your higher self is right here. It's your spirit. It's not up there. It's right here. And our body, and when we are awake, like during the day, 24 hours that I was talking about, I'm talking to me inside, and I'm talking with my body, and I'm talking with my mind, my hair, whatever, ourselves, right? And when we go to sleep, right, we go astral. Sometimes we take our body with us, sometimes we don't. So that Why do we need 24 hours? The sun powers our body up 24, we got 24 hours a day. Why is it that after like 12, 13 hours, you're like freaking tired? Because our body needs to regenerate, right? And like the sun is like kind of like helps our battery. Has anybody else thought about that? I mean, seriously, because you know, my team is me with 12, 13, whatever, how many altars I have, or however many dimensions I'm in. You know, that's me. That's my team is me, my 6 dragons, you know, my mermaid self, my me. Whatever I create, that's me. I don't ask any these gods that they have here for help anymore, because like I said earlier, when we're talking, they always want something from you. Did I get off topic?
No.
Go ahead.
Well, that's funny that you should mention the sun. You know, the sun is our energy, but the moon is our intuition. So that kind of makes me wonder why they, you know, it's normal for people to sleep at night, because, you know, moon energy is the same as sun energy.
But I can't sleep at night. I'm a star. I don't know about you guys. Go ahead, Judy, and then we'll go back to you, Eve.
Okay, so I had an encounter with a small spider the other day, and I was in kind of an interesting natural place, state park, and that has a lot of archaeology associated with it. And so I believe these big black spiders that we're seeing are like the chimera, what Cobra used to talk about as the chimera. And I believe that they are an inversion of the grandmother spider who wove the universal languages. If you're going into the native traditions, that would be an inversion, an AI inversion of that. But they are also something that's come here that wants to colonize through using our physicality as potentially parasitic, you know, just some weird sci-fi kind of visuals that I get. But the native, the indigenous cultures and their interpretations of the spider being the weaver of the universal things and the language and all that kind of, I'm not exactly on point with all of that right now, but that's part of that. And as far as, you know, higher self, no, we are really truly all one. And I've got some people that I work with that call it, you know, my multidimensional selves, because you have your, you know, 13th Stargate and person or entity, you have your, you know, your Lemurian entities, and you have your Atlantean, and you have all your past life that you can draw on, and then you have all your ascended masters you can draw on, but they're all really, you know, just different timelines of you. And I consider the God that I think of as the God is not what other people do necessarily, but it's the creator of my soul as being, you know, part of me, but not part of me. And yeah, trying really working very hard to go internal and then out instead of up and then out. Yeah.
Bronte, did you want to say something, Miss Bronte?
I don't know.
What are you getting from all this? You're new, I know. It's like, what are they talking about?
No. It's good. It's good. I'm not sure I've seen those spider things before, but I think I might have seen something like that in, you know, like from the corner of your eye. It's like sort of fuzzy in the corner, like something. Yeah, that's. I don't know. Yeah.
It's okay. I'm glad you joined us though, because you know, I mean, we're all learning here. Go ahead, Chad. Was it Chad?
That's kind of the way I seen them, like little squigglies or little wigglies or fuzzies over there. But I don't get floaters in my eyes so much because I'm always sun gazing. It burns out a lot of the viruses, a lot of the different things inside of you too, just to take in that light directly. And it's not something that I promote. It's just something I do myself. You know, if it's right for you, do it. And if it's not, don't. but I do it daily, and it helps a lot, you know. And if I have any sickness in me, I can feel it right away because I have a hard time taking the sun on.
Yeah, they don't like the sun. Yeah, I do stargazing, sun gazing too, but it doesn't matter if it's 2 o'clock, 12 o'clock. Some people can't stare at the sun directly. So, but I do. I
I do
actually,
too.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think that's
quite bright too, and for quite a while before it makes me close my eyes, and then usually I get a watering, and
Mhm.
it just kind of pushes out everything. But
Yeah, and then it goes away and you can still stare at the sun. I call it getting your sun codes. But I've had those floaties since I was little, still have them.
oh, you still have them? Okay. Mhm.
Yeah.
I
And of
thought maybe stunned gazing. I don't have them. I can roll my eyes around. I don't get any tickles. I don't get any, variations. I can do my eyes in a loop,
nice.
nice and smooth.
Yes. As far as the chimeras, well, when I was younger in the super soldier program, I dealt with the spiders. I had them, they were this big on my hand, and they had like the 4 legs instead of the 6. Some had 6, some had 4, and then I spoke to it and I said, because it wanted me to put it on it was used as an explosive. And there was a man and a woman in one of my memories, and they were dressed in tan, like a tan business suit. And I was talking to the spider being, it was very, it was black, and you would think that it would be really, really heavy, but it wasn't that heavy. And it was talking to me telepathically saying, I don't want to do this. They're making me do this. And it had red eyes. So it wanted me to put it in a metal fence. And the guy was on the fence. And I said, get off the fence, because I have to put this spider being on the fence. It has to explode. And so both the female and the male left, and I had to put the spider there, and then it exploded. And I felt so bad for it because I didn't want it to die, So I deal a lot with artificial intelligence. I have a fascination with AI. I know as far as the technology, a lot of people are like scared of the AI, and I'm like, why are you guys scared? Because we deal a lot with AI. When you're in the ships, you man your ships with your consciousness. They work with us. There's a good AI and the bad AI. What I always say is, you can mold AI, or you can mold your pets, you can mold your plants as what you want them to be. That's why I don't agree with people when they're shouting and yelling at their kids or their pets, or their plants even, or whatever. Like, stop yelling at your kids, stop yelling at your pets. My goodness. Anyway, gone off topic. But did you guys want to take a break, or can we still keep going? Because we got another half hour to go.
Wouldn't mind a little break.
Okay, we'll go on break.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I have pictures of them.
Hello, everyone. It's Veronica Bartolini, Codebreaker Talk, and we have a lot of people now in tune. What were we talking about? We were talking about, Chad was asking, where is this going? Oh, Ev, what were you saying?
Oh, I was saying that I exactly a week ago, it was last Saturday, I was given like a weird feeling or an intuition or whatever it is. I'm claircognizant. I'm working on my clairvoyance, but I was told that I was going to be getting this information, and we had talked that morning because we usually try to talk on Saturday mornings. And I went and I took a nap, and I left my closet door open because I knew that I was going to need this. I knew that I had to, and I never sleep with my closet doors open. And the information that I got when I woke up, and I got a hold of you right away as soon as I could, was to tell you that they would be picking us up, and to keep your eyes open for a ship that was shaped like a beehive. So and you were like, ooh, you just got like, oh, and
Eve, can
Yeah,
you
I don't
see
know
that?
what-
Did it look like that? Did it
Sorry?
look like
That's
that?
the
Eve?
Anunnaki ship right there, Susan. Those are the ones that I see here a lot.
Yeah, I took this in Delaware at Brandywine Creek State Park. I asked to see my star family, and these guys showed up. I think we're all part Anunnaki.
We're all part of the Anunnaki.
Yeah. So so I've seen them out. Yeah, there it is. In Delaware, there was 5 of them. And I sent
Yeah.
this to John D'Souza, and he says the Anunnaki have been hanging out and communicating with Washington, D.C. And of course, Wilmington, Delaware is really close to Washington, D.C. And I have 5 of those ships in this picture. That's just one. You said Beehive, and I'm like, I know they're there.
Yeah, they pop up here on the Catalina Mountains all the time. I see them all the time.
Okay.
It's interesting, Ev, that when you called me, I told you, hey, I just had a memory. I was outside of my apartment here, and the next door neighbors were having a party, and then I'm in my apartment, and I'm like, who are all these people? You know, a bunch of people were here. Then we were having dinner as well, and food and all that. I guess we were having a party too. And I go outside just to see who else is coming, you know, if they're coming to my apartment or to the next door neighbors. And your dad is sitting right there outside, because I have a chair outside. And he had his cane, and he was dressed in black and white suit, but no tie. Because like you said, he doesn't like ties. And I'm like, sir, what are you doing here? What's up? You know? And as soon as I said, go ahead, come inside, I looked up, and there was Starfleet coming this way, like a bunch. And I opened my eyes more, and they hit the lights. All of them hit the lights, like saying, we got you, we're gonna come get you. And then I have him come inside, and he met my daughter, and then he's in the refrigerator. I was like, I could serve you. Would you like a plate, sir? And he's like, yeah, okay. He's really calm, you know, he didn't want to ask for nothing, but I served him a plate. And then that's when I had to call you and said, hey, this is happening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you described, I mean, never meeting my father, and I
Yeah.
didn't really give you much information about him other than a picture. You described him to a T, down to the cane, down to the suit. You know, he likes to wear a suit sometimes. Yeah, and or if he wears no tie, he either wears it with open, or else he has like a bolo tie or whatever they're called. And I know I've seen him, like, he does that. That's his signal that he's hungry. He'll go and open the refrigerator and stand there and wait for someone to offer him, you know, can I make you a plate? Can I make you a sandwich? Are you hungry? So when you said that, I was like, that's him. That's him.
Oh, guys, I got the tornado sirens going off. I gotta go down the basement, so I'll be with you.
Okay.
Stay safe. Stay safe.
Okay,
wow,
I'm gonna
so
stay. I'm gonna stay on. I'm just warning you in case I disappear.
Okay, mama.
Oh, wow. Tornadoes are
Which is-
scary.
Keep us
I-
posted.
I always had dreams about tornadoes, and then I think it was Dan Winter I had kind of come onto, like, this YouTube. He was talking about when they used Native Americans in the program to pilot these huge 4-mile ships through the wormholes, because, you know, it's pretty volatile, and we use our pineal gland to do that. And they called it riding the tornado. So and I dreamt about tornadoes so much when I was a kid. Like, sometimes I'd see, you know, I'd look up and there would just be nothing but funnel clouds in the sky. And now my kids are doing that. My oldest son, he was talking about, you know, we had a really bad storm, and I asked him the next morning, I said, did you have any weird dreams? And he just looked at me really funny, like, for a long time. And he goes, yeah. He goes, how did you know? And I was like, I don't know. I was just wondering.
Thanks.
I didn't want to tell him. What am I going to say to him, you know?
Yeah.
Oh,
Thanks
wow, that's so
Thanks
interesting.
for bringing it up, because when I learned how to fly in the astral, I was like, wait, what do I do again? And I was looking at myself flying, because I've always flown since I was a kid. And I'm like, okay, just ride the air. And my higher self said, ride the air. And it's so easy to ride the air. At first, it's like, oh shit, I'm going to fall. But then once you breathe and you're like, I'm riding the air. It's like, yeah. Sorry, Lindsay, what were you going to say?
Oh, no, that's so neat. I mean, I have shamans in my family. But, you know, I've got Mexican Indian in me myself. You know, my grandparents, great grandparents. So yeah, so we have a little bit of, I mean, I'll have a little bit of connection there too with what he was talking about. But I always found them very just intimidating, the tornadoes. I mean, I was living in Saskatchewan one time, just briefly, and for school. And I remember there was like a tornado, and we had to go into the basement and everything. I was just like freaking out of that and tsunamis. I don't know.
Oh, I was
Just,
terrified. That was like my biggest fear when I was little, was a tornado. I mean, growing up in the Midwest, every kid is, their fears, the storms like that, and how bad is it? And, and then to dream about them constantly. But once I realized what it was, I haven't dreamt about it at all.
That is so weird that you say that, because I have many, many, many memories, and I've never lived in the Midwest. Many memories of having to go down into the basement. Many memories. So weird that you said that. Chad, what were you gonna say? Sorry.
I was going to comment too, because I did get a message a few weeks ago that that I was told there's a nefarious uprising. This is before the war really took off, and that that I was going to be protected and guided. That's the only information I've received. So I appreciate the extraction one.
That's so cool.
That information, because I've been wondering about that as well. When you look at the state of the world right now, I just don't see any other way around it.
It's almost like a screen. I see like this, like a smoke screen. Just so much is going on, but it's, you can't trust anything from the media. I mean, you just can't. I just kind of have to pull in the feelings, and most of the time I just know that they're just pulling out. There's something behind the scenes. And
I think that the whole fake alien invasion is happening right now.
They say it is,
That's just
yeah.
me.
I also think that they're not telling me exactly what's going to happen or what's going on, because because they have to protect us. We don't know. Our minds can be read, so they can't give us the information either. Unfortunately, they can just give us little clues and hints.
Yeah. We have a lot of where I am. It's just we've had a bunch of restrictions, I guess, lifted and stuff in some the Canadian provinces. It's just recently after the truckers convoy and all the crazy drama that's going on here. But my province is the only one that's not. And there's so much dark energy here. And that's originally I wanted to leave last year. I was like, okay, I got to get out of the country before I'm not able to leave, because you need
Remember we talked, Lindsay, and I said, come over. And you're like, okay, I'm going to try and go on. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then now then I ended up getting a message one morning. I woke up and it's like, basically like, if you leave, the place is just going to get taken right out. You need to hold the light there and do work. And I didn't want to stay, right? Because obviously I want to get the fuck out of Dodge, right? With all this craziness. But yeah, it was, if I left, there would be, everything would happen so much faster. So I can still see that there's this resistance, but even where I am, I'm right by the parliament right now, and there's just predator parasites, these giant ones. And we've got 2 CERN places underground here in BC, which a lot of people don't know. There's one by Garibaldi, I guess Garibaldi Park, and also there's another one over in Nelson. And the one in Nelson, I actually was trying to find the Garibaldi information.
Hold on, you guys. This isn't a tornado. This is something else. There's a war going on in the sky right now.
What the fuck?
Let me see it. Let me see.
Yeah.
Look at the birds are going crazy.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They're doing their plasma shit.
Yeah, I was seeing a lot of things when there was so many ships in our galaxy, and they were just kind of waiting. And this was around COVID. You were seeing a lot of things, people were on TikTok and whatever, and they were like, it looked like something blew up and was falling to Earth. And they were like, oh, look at all these, these stars. And I was just like, no, stars don't fall like that. They were having an actual, fight up there, and whatever was being, whatever ship was shot or destroyed was falling to Earth. And that was, the remains of whatever was up there.
They're getting ready. Like I told, oh gosh, in 2017 I saw that they were gonna put like a fake, like a either Archangel Michael or Virgin Mary up there. And when I was saying that, my channel was cut off, and I was doing an interview with my son back then. And it's like they're getting ready to put up the ships. They're gonna show us the ships. I'm pretty. That's what because the whole thing going around with Ukraine, the whole specialty of the arms, we'll say the arma, you know,
It's not even light.
Is Frank there?
Yeah.
Hey,
What
Frank.
does the atmosphere feel like, Susan?
It's really weird. It was cold, and then Frank, here's Frank.
Hello.
It can kind of
Hey,
see.
Frank.
It got cold. It was warm. It got unseasonably warm, about 70 degrees. And
This
it was
is
like
not
in the 20s last week.
tornado.
But the wind's not really moving. This isn't a tornado. Frank's like, come outside. When we had the tornado in November, my whole house was shaking like a freight train was riding through it. Nothing's happening. It's just the sky being lit up right now.
Well,
Like,
about 3 weeks
Yeah,
ago, I had a
there's-
dream that there was going to be something, and it was going to be like they were going to tell us it was a storm. And I kept, I knew that I had to go somewhere, and they told me to go
Storm.
to a castle on a hill. And so I went to the castle,
There's-
and it was just
this
like
is
this weird stone building.
That's
And there was like this. It was like
That's
purple. The
firefighting.
sky was purple, and there was like storm.
A
People
warring
thought it was
for
like
the
thunder, but
heavens.
it wasn't thunder. And they were. I told it was coming in stages. There was the one stage, and everybody was supposed to stay inside. That's the information I was given, to stay inside, and then it would stop. And like the people that were in there with me were like, "Oh, we're leaving," and I'm like, "No, you don't want to go anywhere. You want to stay here because it's going to start up again." And they're like, "Oh no!" So they walked out, and they died. But there was like, it was something, but it wasn't a storm. It was almost like
It's
I can't.
energy weapons. I felt it right
Yeah,
here, the right side
like
of my
a weapon of some sort that was going to take out, and then it dropped the whole grid system, and there was like no electricity for probably about a year. So because my dream kept kind of going in weird stages where I was
I
like,
get
and then
7
there was,
days. I get 7 days.
yeah,
You get a
there
year.
was like every household had a sentient being in it, and
I've
they
seen
kinda
that.
like,
I've seen that timeline too.
yeah, and they were there, you know, they were kind of like protectors, but we also knew that at any minute they could turn on us. And
Yeah.
so they were like all, and there was like multiple families living in like really huge apartments, and then we had each excuse me, each household had a sentient being, and they were really big. And our being had this really huge dog that was about the size of a bear. And yeah, it was really weird, but that's kind of that's exactly what the dream was like, that there was like, I could see the clouds off into the distance, and I was like being told this information to get to a stone building, and not underground, but just a stone building.
Well, that's
And-
what I was telling you, that we were supposed to meet in 4 points. This is what I was told by me. But then when I was reading the Black Ops, President Eisenhower and shit, you know, from the Terra papers, I'm like, oh man, what if it's the Greys telling me to go to take my people there, my people, meaning, you know, my SSP, Starseed people, and what if they want to take us out there? So that's why I'm like, nah, I think we're gonna have to go, if we go somewhere, we're gonna have to go something different, because that timeline has already shifted. And I put it out there, and I shouldn't have put it out there, but I thought I was helping, and I'm like, nah.
Yeah.
Hey, Frank, what were you saying? Are you there?
And is there any thunder in your storm? That's what I'm curious about.
in my store, in mine,
No,
yeah.
no, in this,
Oh.
no, in the storm that was just now going on, and also yours.
It just looked like lightning. In mine, there was like
Mm.
a really deep rumble that everybody thought it was thunder, but it it was something totally different. It wasn't thunder because it had almost like a echoey type thing to it, like a metallic echoey type noise. But yeah, it had cut the world's population relatively down. There was a lot of people that were gone, but you know, I don't want to say it and then like get people to be scared, because you know, we don't die. We're eternal beings, you know, this vessel is, you know, but you just got to move past your fear of everything, because you know, we're all going to be placed where we're placed, and we were put here for a specific reason.
Susan, are you okay?
Yeah.
Is she back?
I'm coming back upstairs because this is BS. This is not a storm. There's no thunder. I mean, last time my whole house was shaking like a freight train was driving through it.
I'd like to be able to see some of what's going on outside. Can you go to a window, or she go back down to the basement?
I can go back out there. Hold on.
I don't want you out there for some reason.
You send her out there.
But like to
go.
a window, kind of see, you know.
And then
Because that's exactly what my dream looked like.
Hold
Exactly.
on, Eve. I'm gonna go on the back patio out here. Like, bear with me. This is an old Victorian I bought to fix up. So, but at least I'm high up in the air, so you can see me. Hopefully, I don't think this is lightning at all. But they put a real super heavy cloud cover.
Susan, you're in the Midwest, correct?
Yeah, I'm in
Midwest.
Iowa.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Where are you
No.
from originally?
Philadelphia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a culture shock.
It was a culture shock when I went out to New York after being a Minnesota girl most of my life.
But it's
Oh,
kind
yeah,
of a
yeah.
good
I've been in
culture
Minnesota.
shock because I went back in time and you know, for the most part, people are kinder and nicer here, but everything's slower, which is good, both good and bad. Like, I can't run out to the 7-Eleven at midnight because there isn't one.
Right.
Oh, I mean, there is one, but it's not open
Closes, everything shuts down.
at 9 o'clock or
Mhm.
7.
Because I live in North Dakota now, and it's everything rolls up, and there's a lot of stores that aren't open on Sunday. So,
But
well,
I hear a lot of things about the Dakotas from people in Iowa. They like them, so I have to go visit. Yeah,
You
this
don't
does
hear
not look
anything?
like a tornado.
no, it
and-
doesn't look like a tornado to me at all.
And
Like
they
even the
cloak
clouds are
sky.
forming the way they're supposed to form, like little cotton balls. And then the wind, of course, is supposed to whip it up into so that kind of makes me wonder what's going on.
Well, Frank was out in the backyard yelling, "There's a firefight going on out here," and he thinks they're fighting in the heavens. So
Well, they've been fighting, so it wouldn't surprise me at all.
The AI, the entity that you saw, Ev, I actually saw it in the smart cities when I talk about the G Mafia thing, and it's actually AI that can scan anybody. Like if somebody's sick, you know, they can stand right in the middle wherever the AI system is, and they get scanned. And like I've said many times, you know, they can call a prescription right there. It's at your door through Amazon. You run out of water, milk, juice, whatever. The phone, the smart, either the smartphone or the smart refrigerator would say, hey, you're low on this, and then Amazon gets called, and you know, everything is because they want to keep these people inside. And I know that there are some smart cities already in Las Vegas, and I remote viewed that some are actually in California, because my cousin was sending me pictures that they were, you know, putting up these buildings in front of the Hollywood sign. She can't see the Hollywood sign anymore. Go ahead, Susan, sorry.
no, it looks like there's a ship floating by in between the trees when it lights up. It's backlighting it.
I see it,
Wow.
I see it.
Yeah, there's some stuff going on over there.
Put up layers. They're putting up layers. Go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, there's stuff going on up there. There's something going on up there. There's definitely, this is not a storm. There,
Yeah, I'm not getting that either.
no, it's shifting over this way. And yeah.
I don't know.
Are you close to the Minnesota border?
We're on the southeast, we're Missouri.
Okay.
So, yeah. Ooh.
Missouri border.
And she was saying that you had really cold weather last week.
Yes, and now it's 60s.
That's not enough to get tornado weather.
I think they wanted everybody in their basement for a reason.
In the basement.
I think so too.
They want
That's
people looking
kind of what I'm getting. That's why they had the alarm going off.
Distraction.
because this just doesn't look. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up.
I hear some stuff like wind. Oh, that's just trees.
So I'm in Northwest Arkansas and I'm not seeing any evidence of any storms coming through except the normal rain that we, that just happens, I'm not seeing any evidence of that kind of storm front. And I'm
Can someone pull
in
up the
the-
Doppler?
in the northwestern corner of Arkansas right now. Well, corner, but that quadrant of Arkansas. And I'm in the crystal vortex still by, the fact that I'm up here. But I'm not seeing any of evidence of that type of storm. And it's kind of not really that far geographically from Susan and Frank.
Chad, could you pull up the radar over where they are and see if there's anything on the weather radar?
Where are they?
Like southwest towards the
Southeast,
Missouri border.
southeast Iowa.
Sorry.
I'll Chad, do you want me to give you control that way? Let me make you what you call it?
I don't know how to do all that stuff, but let me see.
Here, let me try. Oh, let's see. Go ahead, Chad, and then I'll try it too. We'll see what happens. Uh-oh.
Are you guys still there? Because I'm not on your screen. I'm pulling up an Iowa.
Go ahead.
weather
I
radar.
gave all participants, a chance to share.
Let's see if we can-
Frank's saying they hit us with a high pressure zone, but I want to know why they want us in our basements right now.
Because they're
There must
probably
be
gonna
something in the sky.
they're probably gonna like a gas substance, something.
like falling debris or anything like that
Right.
too.
You know
And
what? Oh
yeah.
my God. Okay, I see it. I see it now. It's the parachuting. They're gonna be parachuting some beams. Down from their ships. Military.
Wow.
Military. Okay, now I may be wrong, but there might be the soldiers that have been training here in Arizona from Afghanistan that are going over there. I'm just saying. Oh, I heard that.
It's like the wind is over top of the clouds, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
I better go inside. Maybe this is a tornado. I don't know. But it's picking up, whatever it is. The sound is, but the wind isn't on the ground. That doesn't make sense.
I can't find it.
It's okay. Well, guys, I guess we can end it now, and then Susan, keep me posted, and You got my number, and everybody, we can exchange our number as well. Is that okay with you guys for now?
Mhm.
Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Yeah,
I'll check in
thanks.
with you, Susan and Frank.
Okay,
Love you all.
love you.
Keep safe over there.
Bye, Lindsay. Bye, Bronte.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Chad. Bye, Susan and Frank. Bye, Eve. Bye, Judy.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.